All right, folks. I literally, there's something going on with, there's a ghost in the machine because the internet's going on and off and on and off and on and off only when I'm streaming. Only when I do the site. So hey, well, let's see if this works. I really couldn't care less if it works or it doesn't. I'm going to do this stream and I'm going to continue doing this stream, and I can use my other computer if I like. I don't need the effects. Maybe I like the effects. Who doesn't like the effects? Oh wait, what do we got here? Ooh, there was a question here. All right, we're just about started. Oh no, it's. Okay, here we go. Get excited.
Recession. One country is in recession. Will the leader of the only G20 country in recession please stand up?
That is not a question, it's a request. We'll go on to the next question.
Oh, you got booted! Oh, we got to put that over there. Oh, that was classic. A good one. That was, so what he said was that wasn't a question, that was a request. He took his question away. Next. That was actually funny. That's funny. Hey, you know, I enjoy when they you know, he flouted the rules a little bit maybe, and I enjoy when the speaker does that, as long as it's not over the top. You start fining people and this and that and making big deals over it afterwards. Are you going to resign because you said something in the this stuff is so silly, especially after the age of Trump. Like the age of Trump, like you're going to like call people out and you're like, what about the you know, come on. Are we going to play the 1980s game? We're going to dig for some guy's email. Okay, that one guy, you know, anyone who legitimately, not something in the past, like wears tattoos and stuff like that about, you know, so that to me is, you know, baloney. He seems like he's just a shtick, that guy. There's no way he's gonna make it. Just can't make it. It's just a shtick. It's just, it's so much over the top. It looks phony. They're playing a shtick, and I think the Democrats should just that guy. You can't have that guy running. Can't have that guy running. The way he is now, speaking about it, my opinion about how he. I don't even give it any more breath. I just then again, it's the age of Trump. It don't matter anymore. Literally, we've had how many politicians in like bad scandals, stealing this, that. It's like, holy crap. Let's get some blue collar people in here that made mistakes, big mistakes in their life, big ones. Is he going to do a mea culpa? If he doesn't do a mea culpa, I don't have as much respect for people who don't say they're sorry. I hate saying I'm sorry. It like, ugh, it's awful. Learn you have to. I'm like an adult now. You have to. It's like that one song, The Pursuit of Happiness. You're an adult now. You screwed up. Take it. Take what is coming in the, you know, the love you is, being in love is never have to say you're sorry. Well, you gotta, when you say you're sorry, a lot of times there's like this mystery, whatever. People say, you say you're sorry, the universe hears it and gives you retribution. Whatever. I don't know if that's true. I couldn't care less. Take it. If you did wrong, take it. You heal it. Heal that other person's end. Because not saying it, that wound is very difficult for that other person to heal. It's no big deal. Just say you're sorry, but you have to mean it, and it has to suck, And then it's when it's over, you turn something bad into good. It's like I had to do it. I said something. I was in an argument, and I'm not happy. And I said something out of anger. I didn't swear, didn't curse, didn't call them anything like that. Like, I just don't believe in doing that. But it was like, I had to apologize the next day. And it was like, you know what? I felt great. That was like my first big lesson as an adult. You got to do it. And I believe that in everything I've done. And AA has that in there. They have to, the people who go into AA, I didn't, I'm not in the program or anything. But they go into it and they have to like write letters to people of apology and stuff like that. Oof, that must be awful. I think that's actually pretty good. I think that's something we should do weekly, monthly, yearly, annually. It's something important in life, and I think our communities all will work better. Truly do. And if you're slipping down the wrong path, that's the way to get back, right? But if more people that do it, the better it is. It's my shtick for the day, Sion.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The group of 20 nations are all faced with the same tariffs, wars, and energy prices. Yet 19 of the G20 countries are not in recession.
That's true.
One country is in recession. Will the leader of the only G20 country in recession please stand up?
That is not a question, it's a request. We'll go on to the next question.
Had 2 consecutive quarters of shrinking GDP, the only country in the G20 that can say that. We've lost 112,000 jobs in the first 3 months of this year. And that has left our country with a quarter of its people in food insecurity. Will the Prime Minister tell us whether we are in a recession or a technical recession?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, first may I wish the Leader of the Opposition a very happy birthday. Secondly, I'll even give him his question back, Mr. Speaker. Petit cadeau.
A little gift for you.
What this government is doing is putting in place the foundations of an economy that will be stronger, more resilient, more independent. We are seeing, in the face of U.S. tariffs, in the face of global uncertainty, in the face of higher energy prices, we are seeing business investment accelerating. We are seeing wages growing twice the rate in the United States. We are seeing this country put in place the conditions for sustained prosperity.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate his birthday wishes. I am 47. But that's 50 with inflation. But what I really want as a Christmas gift from a birthday gift from this Prime Minister is someone who will actually answer the question. And Canadians deserve answer, not misinformation. We've had 2 consecutive declining quarters of GDP growth. We are the only country in the G7 that can say that, the only country in the G7 that has seen the economy shrink in 3 of the last 4 quarters, the only country whose GDP is smaller than it was a year ago when the Prime Minister took office. So, will he tell us, are we in a recession or a technical recession? Technical recession. Which is it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's very painful on someone's birthday when you give them a present and they give it back to you. Mr. Speaker, I'll do a little research for the Leader of the Opposition. If you'd like to ask the C.D. Howe Institute, they know the answer to that question. If they'd like to ask the OECD, which today predicts that Canada will have the second strongest economy in the G7 this year and next. That is the answer, Mr.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's the only promise that he made during the elections.
Well, on giving back presents, find better friends. if you're with someone who's a scumbag like that, then they're a materialistic person, and materialistic persons, we know where they go, right? Anyway, this is Pia.
And it's the same thing he said a few days ago. But after he said that, we saw that Canada is the only...
When someone does something bad to another, where does the shame fall? There's a piece of society, and I think this comes from the negative, the demons of society, whatever you want to call them, the evil of society, what's better. The evil of society says, when the wrong does to you, you should get the shame. No. When the wrong is done to me, that filth hasn't touched me. What am I supposed to be, the watchdog of someone, a friend, a partner? When someone does something to you, so say you invite a friend over, they steal from you, right? Say that. Or they do something, plot against you, right? You help them, you give them something or whatever, and they plot against you. Why would that shame be on anyone but the person who is who's done the evil? It's like, or if you get cheated on, why would it be on the person who cheated? That's just a silly action that to get the people who create evil to get away with it with a pass. So this is my thing, is anytime I see it, I fight against anyone. Well, he's an idiot, look what happened. No, or she's an idiot. The shame only falls on those people that do the evil. And if anything, the person who had it done against has been cleansed in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, but has been lifted up in a way, if they've taken it properly and didn't react in an evil way in return. That's the only way the person who has a harm done to them can be bad, is they react in a harmful way to themselves, spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever. They over yell, they call them names, they this and that. But if the person acts with humility and grace, well, then it's like, whew, well, look at that. That's a example. Whereas the other person should be the one to take it all. But we have a little bit mixed up society, people. Or just, I think what it is, there's too many people who are evil, that are doing evil to people that are in our feed, and it's just, and this is where back to the breathing out part, where we have a society that is breathing out. If you are calling the person the victim of you know what I mean? It could be just a small thing. It's just where we're at. How could you call that person? No, it's the person who did it to that person. You should never, don't feel shame. You don't feel anything. So what, they stole from you? So what, she cheated on you, or he cheated on you, or they did it. Who cares? It's theirs. It's their. When they go to that judge, whoever, Midas or Peter at the pearly gates, whoever's there, I believe there is a judge. They ain't gonna be like, well, just think about it, court of law. It's only the other person who they won't even be mentioned, unless you don't act with dignity after harm's been done to you. If harm's been done to you, act accordingly. My opinion.
Only country in the G20 that is in recession. So that means that Canadians are skipping meals. There are 112,000 Canadians who've lost their jobs. We have the second worst unemployment rate in the G7. Can the Prime Minister stand up and answer a very simple question? Are we in a recession or just a technical recession.
Très
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, we have to correct the official record of Parliament. I made a number of promises during the election campaign. The first was to save Canadians from the terrible policies of the Leader of the Opposition. Second, the policies that this government has put in place are allowing us to create a more resilient, more prosperous, stronger, a more sustainable economy, and a more independent economy. That's what we're doing.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
All he delivered was a recession. He promised he'd have the fastest growing economy in the G7. He's delivered the only recession in the G7. And while Canadians line up around the street to try and collect from the food bank, this Prime Minister spends $200,000 on in-flight meals for just 3 flights, including $4,200 on creme brulee, $593 on luxury Normandy buttercups. No wonder he's so out of touch with the people whose jobs he's killed. So can he tell in a recession?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know. Sorry, folks. I don't think there's anyone even here, but this works very, very little. I don't think it's ever been this bad. This is also, I'm at a recording. I'm not even at, this isn't live, so this should be fine, but the feed is cut on me.
Let the doors be opened, que l'on ouvre les portes.
Where the hell is this?
Somebody's going to ask for UC, right? Yes,
I know.
member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You're welcome. So we got to find out where we were, because it somehow erased. Look at how empty the house was, though. Holy moly, it was empty. Oh, I had to reconnect. Oh, I guess I opened this. I opened a second computer. It could be all of a sudden today. Internet is really, really slow. Like Sundays sometimes, you know, it's bad, but this is excessive. Oh, now it won't load. Oh, is this even on? Yeah, okay. Here, I'll put my thing. It won't even load now. It's coming though, folks. I'll get it. It won't even load.
I believe you will find unanimous consent for the...
We will find none of it. All right, here we go.
If they'd like to ask the OECD, which today predicts that Canada will have the second strongest economy in the G7 this year and next. That is the answer, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It's the only promise that he made during the elections. And it's the same thing he said a few days ago. But after he said that, we saw that Canada is the only country in the G20 that is in recession. So that means that Canadians are skipping meals. There are 112,000 Canadians who've lost their jobs. We have the second worst unemployment rate in the G7. Can the Prime Minister stand up and answer a very simple question? Are we in a recession or just a technical recession? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, once again, we have to correct the official record of Parliament. I made a number of promises during the election campaign. The first was to save Canadians from the terrible policies of the Leader of the Opposition. Second, the policies that this government has put in place are allowing us to create a more resilient, more prosperous, stronger, a more...
I gotta put a pause. I like how he has the NDP MP right there in view, and MP Enesangari. And the only reason I'm mentioning MP Enesangari is because you know how hard his name is to pronounce the first time you look at it. You look at his name and it just this. You're like, oh no. There's nothing weird in it. It's Enesangari. But it's longer. And it's a little bit, you know what I mean? But once you say it, it's easy. But the first time you say it, I watched pundits have trouble with his name. But now that he, like, what is it? There's like this thing, if 100 people have it, then it's, you know what I mean? You're not. And then we got it. We all got his Enesangari. And it's a nice name. I just wanted to say it about 5 times, like I'm invoking him. But anyway, I jest.
Sustainable economy and a more independent economy, that's what we're doing.
The honourable leader of the opposition.
All he delivered was a recession. He promised he'd have the fastest growing economy in the G7. He's delivered the only recession in the G7. And while Canadians line up around the street to try and collect from the food bank, this Prime Minister spends $200,000 on in-flight meals for just 3 flights, including $4,200 on creme brulee, $593 on luxury Normandy buttercups. No wonder he's so out of touch with the people whose jobs he's killed. So can he tell us, will he ground his plane and stand up and tell us, are we in a recession?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I will tell this House is what I hear from international investors and businesses when we travel. What I heard in New York is that Canada is the most attractive destination for foreign infrastructure investment. What I hear from major global investors who want to invest more than $100 billion in this country. What we are already seeing, which is foreign investment that's running in this country at twice the rate of any other G7.
Leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, obviously the multinational corporations that he is profiting are very pleased with the way things are going. As for the Canadian people who are living under his recession, it's another story. They don't have $200,000 meals on 3 private flights, Mr. Speaker. They don't have tax havens so that they can shelter from the high tax burden he imposes on everyone else. He can't even bring himself to utter the word recession, even though the textbook definition tells us that he's the only Prime Minister, the only leader in the G20 who's created one. So will he stand in the House and answer the question, are we in a recession or a technical recession?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are in an economy that is fundamentally being transformed by a government that has a plan, to create a stronger, more independent, more resilient economy, a sustainable economy, an economy that moves from reliance to resilience. And, Mr. Speaker, we are already seeing business investment, Canadian business investment up 10% in machinery and equipment. We are seeing our non-U.S. exports up on course to double. We are seeing the strongest inbound investment in
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, another betrayal of Quebec culture. On day 2 of CUSMA negotiations, the government is already asking the CRTC to abandon the 15% increase in royalties required of major online streaming platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Prime. After abandoning the digital services tax, Ottawa is once again sacrificing funding for cultural creation by allowing digital giants to avoid paying their fair share. We're talking about $3.4 billion. Does the Prime Minister know that he's supposed to defend our culture and not barter it away? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the government is starting by defending everyday Canadians. We are focused on affordability. This is a decision focused on affordability for families in Quebec and families across Canada. At the same time, we are investing $600 million more in Canadian culture and in Quebec culture. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister had already abandoned the digital services tax with no concession from Washington, not a single thing. In doing so, he deprived the cultural sector of $1.4 billion a year. Today, he's asking the CRTC to back down on the 15% that would have been taxed on major online streaming platforms. So that's $2 billion that would come from the United States. He's depriving the cultural sector of billions of dollars, which he claims he can compensate with $600 million taken from taxpayers' pockets. How can the Prime Minister justify that everyone is losing except for the American web giants? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I have news for the member for Belleuil-Chambly. Who pays for that tax on streamers? Well, everyday people with increased streaming costs. That's the truth. So we have chosen that we are going to focus on affordability to make sure that the cultural sector is supported and to focus on affordability for everyone. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. He is letting $3.4 billion a year from the United States go away, and he's taking $600 million out of taxpayers' pockets. By asking the CRTC to cancel the 15%, the Prime Minister is doing worse than capitulating. He's validating the Americans' claim that Quebec's culture and the French language are a barrier to trade. And by replacing those royalties with public funds, he's validating the Conservatives' criticism by making taxpayers foot the bill for the web giants. The Prime Minister says, I am weak in doing this. Is he going to reverse this cowardly decision? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the government is investing in Canadian culture, in Francophone culture, in Quebec culture. They are pillars of our identity. We have more than made whole the cultural sector with the decision taken today. And in the budget that the Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly was against, we have invested $750 million in the cultural sector.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
My question for the Prime Minister is about the human cost of Canada being the only G20 country in the recession. Zara from Toronto lost her administrative job at a real estate business. She can't find a new job and now has to sleep on a friend's couch. What's the Prime Minister going to tell her if he cares enough to stand up and answer? Is he going to tell her that she's just technically homeless and technically jobless?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to wish the Chief of the Opposition, Leader of the Opposition, a happy birthday. I hope his day improves. The government is focused on building a stronger economy. We recognize the scale of the challenges that this country is facing from abroad. We are focused on that administrator. We are focused on farmers in Battle River Crowfoot. We are focused on a future that is stronger, durable, more independent, more resilient, more sustainable.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is not a joke. This is a woman's life. This Prime Minister gave us the only recession in the G20, and he stands up and starts joking about her state of affairs. She's sleeping on someone's couch, Mr. Speaker. Will the Prime Minister stop being so flippant about the suffering that he's caused in the lives of Canadians and tell Zara, is her homelessness and joblessness just a technicality?
Pierre aced that one. He found it right. I even found it, but the laugh wasn't called for. Especially when you're wealthy, to laugh at someone, even though the question, and I think the laugh was at Pierre, about him not having a good day on his birthday or something, and the way his tone was, but he got him. And Pierre used that to lay down a pretty, when you go in the emotional part, he got it. It's like, oh yeah, got a point. You rich prick are laughing because it's just like, huh, you know. The problem with a lot of people in governments, all governments, is they don't realize the urgency that a lot of the people that are looking for them to give the answers have, and they just don't realize the urgency their job should do, or the weight. It's like, oh, I just want to go home on Friday. I don't think House of Commons is doing Fridays anymore. I don't know what's going on. It's like over at noon. Like, it shows to me no urgency and no care. When I look at the Parliament and it's an empty house, it shows to me no urgency, and they just don't care. I get canceled. I work every day. But listen, I get, you know what I mean? I canceled, but I have battles with certain videos, and I don't even swear at any of these things. Well, why? Well, because I'm probably saying things that none of the sides agree with. But this is supposed to be a free spoken nation, right? When we have politicians who don't work a full day Friday, don't even show up to Parliament until the last possible minute, and then don't write bills, don't have any real plans, spend millions of dollars on their personal budgets, and we have nothing to show for, and then stump for only the rich people who are their lobbyists. We have had, not all of them, right? Not all. Of course, it can't be all, but I think there's about 30%. We have 30% of, I believe, politicians, leaders of our country, and I mean artists as well. You know, less for artists, because a lot of artists, they got there through struggle. So I think they have more empathy and they understand more. But not all. A lot of them, rich little pricks, rich little prick, going around kicking people. Never had a hard day in their life. Oh, I didn't have enough of this. We're in Canada, you know. When they go around kicking people, we literally, I believe, the breathing out is when you have, how do you get the exhale to start? The people that rise are the ones that really, really shouldn't. They don't really care about the nation, they care about themselves. And any politician, the problem is with political job is, your job is not to care about you at all. It's to care about others. But remember, it's a job. The problem is with their job, where it becomes a struggle, is because if you're a good politician and you care, those ones that care, they end up working 80-hour weeks, and it's hard. It's hard on them. That's why I believe in at least cycling ones, like an annual. What did you do for your community? What did you do for your country this year? If I was a leader, that's what I would do. I'd have to sit them all down once a year. And it would be grueling. It would not be easy. It'd be hard. And then I'd have one done on myself. What did you do for your community? What did you do for your country? I see on Fridays you always had really good Fridays. That's good for you, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is with politics is we're breathing out, and we need those that, to bring it back. And that's where I kind of, anyway, I don't want to digress too far. I don't. But that's just my special thoughts on it. What do you think? Leave your comment. Don't. I don't think I get those anymore.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, thanks, Mr. Speaker. And you know what's not a joke? When you lose your job and there's nothing there to catch you. And yet if these Conservative members had their way, that's exactly what would have been facing Zara. In fact, they voted against the very measures that we put into place to protect people like Zara.
We really can't hear now. So not from the top, but the minister may continue, but let's have a little more quiet so we can hear what the minister has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I find a joke is that when this government steps up, not only to lay the foundation of prosperity for the future, but to protect people like Zara by putting into place things like modernized employment insurance, which they routinely laugh about, they vote against Mr. Speaker, time and
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, the question is for the Prime Minister about the real human cost of Canada being the only country in the G7 and in the G20 that is in a recession. Brad from Ontario wrote me to say that his family hung on during the Trudeau years, but since this Liberal Prime Minister has taken over, he's now at risk of losing everything. He sold the home and had to get rid of all of the savings he had accumulated for his retirement. Will the Prime Minister have the decency to stand up, look Brad in the eye, and tell Brad, are we in a technical recession or a real recession?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I speak to a lot of people like Brad in my own riding of Gatineau, and what they ask me is why such apparent glee on the part of the Leader of the Opposition and his troops when they march in here. Canada faces some economic headwinds from an unprovoked trade war. Blame Canada. Right. Canada faces economic headwinds from a war in the Middle East. Blame Canada. People cannot help but notice the Leader of the Opposition and his entire bench walk in here with glee when Canada faces
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when there's only one country in the G20 that faces a recession, while all the other countries face the same wars and tariffs, then we know that it's appropriate to blame this Liberal government. And I can assure you, he talks about glee. Jacqueline has no glee. She actually had to put her dog down because she can't afford the veterinary bills along with the inflation in her food, her rent, and her gas. The Prime Minister actually cares about Jacqueline. Will he stand up and answer the question, are we in a recession or a technical recession? Which is it?
The Honourable Minister. Colleagues, please. An instant, please. Just a moment, please. I still haven't given the Minister the green light. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians don't need at this time is these slogans, is these clips, is this empty rhetoric on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker. Jacqueline knows, and she should know, that every step of the way, the Leader of the Opposition has voted against every affordability measure on this House, Mr. Speaker. Jacqueline knows that, and we know it, and Canadians know it, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to affordability, we're going to stand with families, we're going to stand with workers, we're going to support our industry, we're going to build Canada strong together.
Colleagues, it's just too loud on the. It's too loud in the House. I won't point any fingers, but it's too loud. There you go. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was for the Prime Minister, and if he actually cared about the people who wrote these letters, he'd stand up and answer the questions themselves instead of having a member get up and condemn slogans and then list 5 of them in a row. Here's another letter, Mr. Speaker, from Thomas in Sarnia. He runs a painting business, but is now stuck in a bind. The cost of his paints are too high to keep his prices low, and if his prices are too high, nobody can afford to hire him. He's worried he's going to lose his business. This is the human cost of being the only country in the G20 that's in a recession. Will the Prime Minister tell Thomas, is this just a technical recession? Is he technically on the verge of bankruptcy?
Colleagues, James, Larry, come on, guys, come on. The Honourable Minister of Housing, the Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I know that the Liberals or the Conservatives, the key is with the Conservatives, they don't want to spend Conservative money or government money as part of their bag. The problem is what happened with the influx of so many people in the country and the building being so hard tamped down. It takes months for permits. There's so many problems, and they weren't Majority of them weren't federal government problems. They were municipal and provincial problems. But when you have a higher population, it gets downloaded to these places. So, and there's no new communities, no new cities, no new opening of land. They didn't do anything to alleviate the problem. So every real serious study on this is basically 20 years, and maybe it will get better. So 20 years under the current plan, that's not a plan. It's not, you have not, if you're in math class, you got that wrong. 20 years, like, you know, I lost 3 people, 3 friends by 20 years old. 4, Rodney, 4, I don't know if he was, yeah, he was, I guess. He partied once or twice. 4 people, duh. You know what I mean? It's 4 lives in 20 years, and this is what they have, is a fix to the problem they created. The problem they created was a required problem to be fixed, and it went down the line, because the problem is Canadians weren't having enough children, and when you don't have enough kids, capitalism doesn't work. Capitalism needs and requires constant growth, and if you don't do constant growth, it'll collapse. It will not work. Because when someone owns a business, they protect their business, legal and illegal means, and they go and do things that they shouldn't. And so they start smashing businesses around them, they do things like that. All kinds of stuff like that happens. A million ways, legal and illegal. And so there has to be new growth for the new people to come in and expand while that other person can continue. And now we're at a point where we're starting to hear words like too big to fail. That's literally anti-capitalist. That was the most anti-capitalist thing I ever heard. Too big to fail of a company? A company? Like a person? Yeah. Give $1 billion to save a life. I don't believe in giving any more money to companies. Tucker had a pretty good argument, and they both had an argument. We're in this thing is like every town is against each other. We give this town gives this company money, and then they say, well, what are you going to give us, right? Well, what needs to happen all across Canada, every municipality has to come to an agreement and say, we won't do this anymore. We will not let the companies take tax dollars. Only thing they can do is say we will not take. I even think they should do that. I think that they have their own tax base, whatever it is, maybe lower in certain jurisdictions. But the idea of giving businesses are alive to create money and stuff like that, jobs, money, whatever. I don't think that we should be taking the taxpayer, especially when we see what, you know, since we've gone down that road, we're having more and more people fall through the cracks. Because even our government doesn't care about the people. That's the only reason for the purpose of government. The purpose of government, folks, this is something that may blow your mind, is not for business. Though, obviously they work together, it's not for business. If businesses could operate fine with no governments, they would have security. We would have all these other things. They can do these, at least the bigger ones would. The other ones would have, you know, what was that movie? Everyone goes silly for a day or whatever. But there needs to be something done about that. Handing out too much money to, or at least be addressed to incentivize companies to come. Thing is companies are going to come anyway. Come to this country could make money. That's why they're opening. And I don't fault the company. At this point in time, I would not say anything about a company for getting those incentives. He's doing his job. His job isn't government. You blame the politician. It's only the politician. The politician that's why I always say, they have the tough job. They got to say no to the people sometimes, and they have to say no to business and private sometimes. And that's not an easy thing to do. So then they can get it from everywhere. It's very easy to be corrupted, as we see, the majority of them. So all of this goes on to this corporate paycheck thing. There needs to be an addressing of it, and it needs to be big, or else we're going to basically, and then at the same time, blocking other places, jurisdictions that are doing that. Like, that's how we stop other and we're talking about the one big country, how we stop that big country from doing it. We don't follow what they're doing, and that's what we're doing. We're following what they're doing, not saying, wait a second, that's anti-capitalist by taking tax dollars and things. I do like the idea of using intelligence communities, not against the society, but against other countries, you know what I mean, to help sell the product, and using, you know what I mean, like artists and movie stars, keep them on the payroll to help sell Canadian companies. That I think is great. Maybe a little bit of, not from Canada, but like, you know, patent stuff. No, patent can't break the patent law. Don't break the patent law. Anyway, I believe in using the intelligence industry and universities, anything in the government to help the businesses, but not money. Not money. I think that's the silliest thing. Once you started it, it's going. I don't think it's going to stop, because now there's, you know, they found the bank. They opened their own businesses, have their own bank account. And what did we do? What was that one? But I think it was Stellantis. I don't even know. $50 billion they gave to them, and now they're trying to get their money back. It shows. The problem is the politician isn't on the same level as the business person, and they're doing negotiations. It's like me, Mr. Layman's, like, you know, doing signing contracts written by lawyers without someone helping me. That's the same thing. Even though they got some political thing, their political assistants are not the same caliber as the political assistants in companies. It's just in larger companies, right? In the big ones. We're talking about the big players. And that's what's happening. It's like a 2-year-old, me, 5-year-old, 10-year-old. No, I'm probably around in brain power as much as I don't know. And that's what keeps continuing to happen. They keep on making bad deal after bad deal after bad deal. And also, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. I don't expect not to get punched and beaten doing this channel. I expect it. That's kind of why I'm not upset. The last barrage against it, it's coming, right? It's inevitable. I didn't expect it, but it's coming. I just wanted to raise the rhetoric for the fun. That was the initial start, and then as I started watching politics more and more, I realized they're not for the working class. They don't care. They might as well stamp the company's names on their shirts. Not all of them. Can't. I wish I could paint them all with this brush. Can't. I think Sahoda's a good one. And this screen. I don't know whether the guy in the corner. He said some. Kadim said some. Majority of them in this screen, I think, are pretty decent workers. I don't know about. Well, I don't know about that. Sahoda, DeBruzen, Dominic, yeah. The worker there over the shoulder, he's just behind, and look where he is, Kevin behind him, he's a worker. Another worker over in the corner, like the liberal bulldozer. I had a video with him doing a bulldozer. Oh, it was so funny. At least I enjoy myself. I can't do that stuff right now as I can't afford it. I can't afford those the software to make those videos and stuff like that. And no one's picked it up, which is surprising to me. I figured someone's going to pick up, because I was getting like 1 million views a month, getting quite a bit and growing. And then I got 2 years ago, I got demonetized, and then I couldn't afford it. I should have just picked up a job right away, but I had hope that I could get back quick. But it took a long time. It took like over a year to get back. Maybe I didn't do it right. I don't know. I have no one guiding me, no one helping me. You know, I ask questions and they're like, "No, don't ask me. You're doing politics." You're like, ooh, it's not a good thing. I recommend anyone doing this, don't do politics. The current politics right now is breathing out. The demons are all over the place, and it isn't getting better. So to try to stay on an even keel is difficult. Difficult for anyone, because if you want the working class, if you're like me, you want the working class to win, to do better every day, to not see homeless. Seeing homeless to me is like, and I don't think it should be around. It's the biggest problem in our society. It shows that our leaders are just, they are not for the people. Though, like I said, and then the conservative side, it's like oil. I am sometimes anti-conservative because I hear oil every freaking time. I'm not, enough oil, enough. Like, stop talking about. We know the oil companies pay your bills. We know you like it, but there are other sources of energy, and oil is on the way out the door. I'm not against oil. That would be stupid. But oil is out the door. We're already at the, I don't want to say that, I won't say those lines. We're already there. Whereas electric is better. It's already there. It's not gonna. There. Can it be done to scale? No. Absolutely not. So that's where the sense comes in. Can we have electric bulldozers? No. You know how heavy they would be? I don't even know if they could move. They'd be so heavy. Well, actually, maybe that would be good. They could have aluminum track. Anyway, I don't know. It just isn't going to happen. We're going to have bulldozers, excavators, and backhoes, and all these wonderful things. Diesel, for at least 50 years. That's just not going to change. First of all, those motors, they run for so long, and like, I used one. It was from the 50s. From the 50s, it worked great. Did exactly its job. Enough said. But the key is to worry about the people. I understand that the politician needs to worry about the companies because then that helps the people. That makes sense. Though I would like to see them more directly worry about that dollar going to the people. And I'm going to say it again. I keep saying this. This is a new thought. I think that we need a secondary economy in our society as AI starts. AI, I don't think is going to be. I believe in the end, AI is going to be the best thing. Like sliced bread, we won't even remember that quote. The best thing since sliced bread. It'll be the best thing since AI. I believe that with all my heart. Though, to get there, just like I work out every day, and some days I can't do the morning, right? I can't. I just don't do the morning. I'm hurting. It hurts. And there's going to be that. AI is going to hurt. It's going to take out sectors at a time. That's bad. Having EI to help people out and all this, I don't think that old system isn't designed for the amount of change that AI is going to create like that. Just that's it. So I think that to set up for this, a secondary economy, having like long row houses, single, because people are different now. People aren't shacking up the way we used to. We have computers. They're so much better than people. People just aren't shacking up. Individual, 300 square foot, like a hotel size, a hotel room size with a fridge and a microwave, maybe a hot plate, right? Maybe a little, like something, like a little hot plate. That's it. Because, first of all, like frozen food has gotten awesome. The reason why frozen food has gotten awesome, there's a new system about flash freezing it, just like what happened to those woolly mammoths, like flash frozen, so it stays fresh and good tasting easily. So we can do that mass production industrial feeding of people very easily. So that I think, you know what I mean? They have a microwave, maybe a little hot plate. Well, that's it, you know. Maybe a little. They can buy a little, just a little corner, little size of a desk is a kitchen size. That's all that's required. Single person underneath that is for just a desk-sized kitchen. That's it. My belief. You have it all tiled, little corner. There you go. Little bed, little table. That's it. A patio, because they probably are a smoker. You know, lower income people, criminals, and hardcore people smoke, and they're all good people. I enjoy their company more than the hoity-toities. Than the, oh, I'm so much better. I hate that. I don't believe I'm better than anyone. Not for reasons, just that's a belief. So I think you build that in mass. You could do this with sea cans. Freaking sea cans. You have a factory, have sea cans outside the cities, in towns, outside the cities. New town. So it's separate. You know, just that. Having that sort of people, and the people don't have to pay rent, so they can get back up to, they can save, or they can do their whatever the hell they want to end their life slowly, happily, whatever the hell they want to do. I don't believe in hard drugs. You know, I believe a hard drug, as hard as a drug as I'll ever do again, you know, is Jägermeister, you know, or the Green Fairy. I wrote about it. You know, absinthe. I don't actually no. I don't think absinthe is. I don't know. Whatever. I don't. Drinking isn't my thing anymore. It's been a decade since I've really. But that's nothing besides the point. But so this having little small communities outside cities, not too big, because if it gets too big, then you can have other problems. But in a park-like setting, where people can get back on their feet after the AI or whatever, or personal trauma, physical thing. You know what I mean? You know, I think that we all can heal. If this AI will help that, and mentally and physically, and a lot of it is up to ourselves. AI can be in those rooms to help that person, especially I think if addicts and criminal mind or addicts and stuff like that have destroyed everything. AI I think is their answer, an AI friend. You know, like, do you think you should be smoking that 20th cigarette when you only have $10 left? Things like that. These are brilliant, I think. Anyway, a secondary economy. I'm going on. I don't care. I'm expounding my information. I'm learning about myself as I'm doing, because this is just a new thought. This isn't most of it's are new thoughts. I just have the basic idea. Having grocery stores with a grocery store that doesn't pay the taxes, that can open in those communities, that has weird looking plums and pears and you know what I mean, the stuff they can't sell. Like there's one farmer who mentioned about broccoli especially, it's very expensive. He said over half he has to of all of his broccoli has to go back into the soil as nutrients, because he can't sell it because it doesn't look good. Because broccoli is so expensive, if it doesn't look perfect, people aren't going to buy it. If it doesn't look perfect, and I'm not talking about things like the shape. If the shape isn't the one that we expand, if it's fine, everything's good about it, but it has a little bit like a divot in it or something, or a branch that comes out, or this, whatever. He's got to put it back into the soil. Awful, isn't that? So that could be a place for that, and it wouldn't. I believe it's not like you're going to see many people, like very few people. I heard about the odd business person using soup kitchens. Not very many. There'll be very small percentage of people who will drive into that community. That's like, you know, the being helped community to do that. I think that's it. Or else we're going to have civil unrest that we're going to have to deal with. And you know how we're going to have to deal with it? We're going to yell at each other. And it's just, everyone's going to be having it. You know, it's coming. The problems are coming. The calamities are coming. But yelling at each other is the answer that we have right now. Our politicians don't have the answer. They're just yell at them. We'll yell and say, kick these bums out, these homeless people. And then the other side will be like, no, but we're going to help them. But they're not helping them. And they're yelling at those. They're just both yelling at each other. And neither of them have an answer. And it's a part of their system. But I don't think that taking someone's dignity away is a way to help society and help that person. It's awful. It's just, and it hurts the whole society. Every time you drive by it, it hurts. It hurts me a little bit. You know, I've gotten more used to it, but it hurts. It's like, that's awful. Why do I don't want to live in a country that can't take care of everyone. Like I don't want to see a billionaire on my screen if I have a homeless person up the street or whatever in the town. You know, that's like, you know, tax that guy until we have no more homeless. The answer isn't that, but I would rather see that. In my opinion, we need to be more human focused, because business is an entity. It's a creation of the mind. Kill them all, and it won't change a thing. Kill every human, it'll change a thing. It'll change quite a bit. Probably the world will get greener. Maybe not. We got a lot of growers. And that's where we need to keep our focus on. I believe on politicians. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be pushing this as my new push. It's the human approach. It's just about people. It's not about AI is coming, and we need to worry about people. You're a politician. I don't need you to worry about oil. Of course, that oil company person, magnate, is going to lobby you, but I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. I think they need to be attacked verbally, like with questions and stuff. That you just what do you mean? What, are you stumping for a company? Your job is for people, not for companies. It is for companies in a way, but it should be people first, right? You know what I mean? It's just an argument way of basing, and it's not 100% reality. It's just that we need to be going in that direction, or else we're going. You know what the answer will be? You know what our politicians, the way they're going, their answer is going to be, we're going to go to war. They will go to war, and I believe I've read every single pundit. I stopped reading them a few months ago, but they all basically said we're going to war. And I saw that last Trump in China, and I think he was a little bit more respectful, and his elbows were in, and that for someone like Trump says a lot. He didn't say anything, nothing, but his elbows, you look at the pictures, his elbows were in, and that's I don't want to go into body language knowledge, but that's saying so. To me, it was like, oh, Trump's doing it. Trump is this. That's Trump. He wasn't. And so that means he was being respectful. He was being unlike himself, which we wanted. But I think it was done so much that he was actually like, I'm not starting this. And I think maybe the other side wants it. There's people on of course Americans, but he was on his best behavior to not start something. Right? I think that's how close it is. Every single brain trust, whatever you want to call these things, think tanks, like I said a few months ago, was saying we're going to war. I learned this a while ago when Russia started building up 20 years ago. I was like, oh gosh, what's this? And I looked and I researched and I was in court at the time. And I looked into it, and basically every single time, there's not a time in history, according to this writer, there's a couple, that a country built up their weapon systems that it didn't lead to war. It just doesn't happen. Well, what is every country right now? Japan has their largest military budget since World War II. Germany has their largest military budget since World War II. France, Britain, Spain has a huge, every country in the world. Russia is changed their whole economy into a war economy. Their economy is completely about war. Their whole country right now, and Russians are already warlike people. You know, that's probably why a lot of people gravitate towards Russians. I do. I would sleep with a bear if I could have a bear as a pet. I like that about Russians. I like Siberia. I can't help it. I just, would I be happy drinking vodka, having a bear as a pet, being overly bold and jumping in frozen waters? Yes. I'm red-blooded. But there is that there. There's a line. I'm Canadian first, so we're not at any point anything against Russia. There's the political side. The people are great, though. Right? You know what I mean. I'm being a little solemn for a reason. China actually has the largest navy in the world right now. Australia is huge investment. South Korea. I don't know about North Korea actually. I think North Korea's since they got their little bomb, little rocket man, stopped, cease and desisted expanding, but they have been selling all of their artillery shells. The only thing that North Korea has is inaccurate, not very well made artillery shells. But artillery shells, as we know, are the number one of people in war. Drones are I think higher now because they're not shooting the shells. First of all, NATO can't make enough shells for the Ukrainians, so and Russia's basically completely took their whole store. According to open source, I don't believe that, but according to open source knowledge, Russia took their whole store of Soviet artillery. I don't believe it. I really don't. Though that's what's being said. So okay, we'll take it. So North Korea, what they've done since the Korean War, which was the 50s, they never stopped, never slowed down, as if they've been on war footing since the 50s, building one thing mainly. A couple other things, you know, the AKs, they got this really good green type. It's a nice little lighter AK type of artillery. But they have their artillery shells. They got these things. They've been building these. These are the bad boys. And these things are the #1 killer in war. That's what kills the most people. Number one thing is artillery. 777, the unit. And they've been building, like I said, they're not properly, 100% properly made and stuff like that, so they're not as accurate as our beautiful ones, but they've been building them for so many years, 50s, right? 70, 75 years. They have a huge stockpile. They're selling that to Russia. Iran and North Korea have built this huge, apparently I haven't seen everything of the pictures, but apparently it's really big, drone complex city. I don't know everything about it. Like I said, that was when that came out. So I go to the original point. Never in history, like we're talking like when the English created the longbow, they built lots of longbows. They're like, oh crap, that's the bow we want. It went farther, right? It could pierce armor. And they're like, that's it. They built lots of them. And they first said we're gonna train all of our archery units. We'll defend our country. That's what it was for. That's why they built all of these beautiful bows, these long bows, and trained all these people. As soon as they did that, they went to war. It didn't. It wasn't defense. That's what happens. The original intent gets taken over by another politician who has another idea, and there you go. And that's what I think we're headed to. And it's because of human frailty, human weakness. We're going to have a toy. We're going to play with it. And few politicians reap the war they sow. Right? They don't. They just don't. I would in power. There's very few ever in power that ever sacrifice themselves from a war they created. It just doesn't happen. So it's because they have different motives, right? I believe it could also be sometimes that they get in the beautiful Asia song, in the heat of the moment. They get in the heat of the moment. There's a reason. You know, it could be this. It could be just this. Human weakness and tensions building up, getting closer, crossed. There we got it. I believe that is coming and it's inevitable. And Trump, without Trump, this is like I got some negative things. A couple of I won't say them, but I'm concerned about megalomania. I'm concerned a bit about it. I hope someone gets him and brings him, because this happens to everyone, and I don't want to see it in my life. I want to read about it. I don't want to see that. But a couple things, I'm going to say it. I think that when he said about the third-rate artists, and these artists were like, okay, the ones that left, but he said that about artists that were still going to go, and that was like, what do you mean? You're going to, like, these people are stumping for you, and you called them all that, and you're going to, that was being so upset. He went too far. I think that there's a big pressures on them. Remember that what I was talking about earlier, and I think he's trying to stop it. So I'm concerned a little bit about that, but it's just a little bit of words, right? He's always been that high on it. It is a concern though. I'm watching it, and I hope we see no more megalomania. It needs almost a humble piety, like a humble piety. The problem is with when you get into that mentality, at least according to books, is people that get a mentality, the human life has less meaning to them. When you start getting this always on the battle, human life, and we need to be thinking about, as we're creating a new life, we have to think about the humans. Trump taking Cuba to task, I think that, the slow process, he's doing very good. Slow, let it, Venezuela, Venezuela was like a light switch. Everyone expected that to be happening with Cuba. I did, I hoped, but it's going to be slow. But Cuba is now going to be a resort. I think there's going to be a part of it that will be Americanized, and then leave the rest. As you can see, the one map I had, that little strip, that's like the closest or very ideal from Veradero to CH, whatever that one's, to that one beach is already like a resort place. You know what I mean? It goes in. That should be allowed or whatever, Americanized, American investment, and the rest should be no-go zone. Don't touch the country. Let the people do what they want. But that area should, I think, that's what should happen with Cuba. Let the Cubans that want to come back only in that area. If you're an American citizen, that's what I think how it would work best. Because if you just let them in every area, you're gonna mess it up. There's gonna be so many rich people screwing up those people's lives, and why they went to communism originally will come back in their minds very quickly. So you have it in a spot, and then they will focus on the good. If you have it everywhere, they won't care. My opinion. So he did that. He did Venezuela, Iran. It's a mess. But them having nuclear, it's a mess. Though it's not that messy, It's the Strait of Hormuz is I think 70 ships got through. Oil hasn't gone that bad, hasn't gone good, but oil isn't that bad. Planes are still flying, It proves where oil is. Oil isn't where it was in the 70s. In the 70s, it was a big deal. It was the only deal. Now, there's alternatives. There's many places that are getting oil. So it's been so diversified. It's showing you the power of oil has faded. It's still fair. It's still like, it's like the hickory bats, right? Yes, there's aluminum, but hickory's still there. Some people prefer. I think hickory. I don't know. Is there any comments? I don't think so. There's just stuff I'm just thinking about as now. Oh, all my quotes. I'm like, holy crap! Someone wrote a crap. Just me. Just this. Yeah. We got one viewer. How's it going? All right. I'm gonna listen to this. Let's watch.
It's important that we recognize the critical investments that we are making in the economy of Canada right now to help these same people that the opposition mentions. We yesterday announced investments in Quebec in infrastructure, $2.5 billion into community centers, infrastructure to build more housing, to scale up our affordable housing across the country. $1 billion that's invested to upgrade our hospitals and emergency rooms. Over $6 billion to invest in public transit, help people get around affordably, and to create the jobs that make this country prosperous. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is the same pattern with this Prime Minister every time. He gets a fancy title, he turns it into an absolute disaster. A tiny group of insiders get fabulously rich, making everyone else poor, and when comes time to be accountable, he goes into hiding, not even able to respond to Canadians who wrote letters about their economic desperation, with Canada being the only G20 country in recession. Nathan from Ontario lost his job and isn't sure how he's going to cover expenses for his type 1 diabetes, as severance money is now running out. Will the Prime Minister have the decency and the courage to look Nathan in the eye and tell him...
the Honourable Minister of Women and Gender Equality, Tourism and Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are facing impacts of change, global uncertainty, and driven by U.S. tariffs, Mr. Speaker. And that is why our government has a clear plan. We're diversifying trade, creating good jobs in this country, building faster, investing in workers while making life more affordable. And that plan is working, Mr. Speaker. Canada is projected to have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We're going to take care of Canadians. And in fact, when it comes to affordability, an average family of 4 will save up to $20,000 this year, and that will help them with the average cost that they're experiencing each and every day. We're going to protect Canadians while building Canada strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we're now almost a week after Stats Canada reported that Canada had the only recession in the G20. The Prime Minister has been in hiding ever since. He has the worst attendance record in question period. While Canadians are losing their jobs, he won't even show up to do his job. I ask questions on behalf of...
Okay, here we go. There we go. Talking about that. I got a bunch of hits, baloney hits I had to fight. If you're thinking about me, about not showing up for work. My fights and battles of baloney. Complete baloney. There's supposed to be 3 strikes, no 3 strikes. They just... So I was like, you know what? I can do one of 2 things. I can do what I've been doing every time, get very highly upset, angry, and fight it, or just take a break, think about it. Take a break. Thought about it. There we go.
Zara, Jacqueline, Brad, Kevin, Nathan, and countless others who don't know how they're going to pay their bills. Will you stand up for once, own up for once, and tell us, are we in a technical recession or a real recession? Which is it?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't take that leader.
Just a second. We're going to start over. The member's going to start over. Okay, let's give it another shot. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians don't take that party serious at all. You got the former failed leader doing bizarre social media videos, screaming at fences. You got the current failed leader doing empty parking lot press conferences with no substance, gimmicks, props, and slogans. On this side of the House, we are investing in major projects, housing, and trade diversification. Mr. Speaker, they're not serious about the economy. Canadians see it. Canadians know it. Canadians made a choice to stand behind a world-class statesman, a world-class business and economic leader who's going to build our country.
The Honourable Member for Joliette-Manawan. Mr. Speaker, Amnesty International has denounced the inhumane housing crisis faced in particular by the Atikamekw Nation of Manawan. In Manawan, up to 23 people might be found living crammed into housing that's often unsanitary. These conditions contribute to the development of respiratory diseases. They hinder children's development, their academic success, and even prevent them from meeting their basic needs. It exacerbates domestic violence. These are unacceptable living conditions that would never be tolerated anywhere else. Why does the government still tolerate the underfunding of Indigenous housing that plunges communities into these conditions?
The Honourable...
I can't help it. I'm going to try again here with this loudness. Get it up. I think, again, I keep saying it, and I don't think these politicians... I don't know. Maybe I don't know all the answers, but I like to think I do. All right? Like we all. Make concrete cheap again. Concrete and steel are the number one building materials, number 1 and number 2, building materials, copper, needed, required for multi-residential units. And that's the people that need the help right now. The problem is right now the whole plan, most of the plans are helping rich people housing and poor people housing. Rich people don't need help. They would like it. They don't need it. There's a difference. And them doing the widespread the approach helping everyone is never going to work. They need to do one thing and one thing only, build those small type of row units. I think the temporary CCAN is a temporary thing to start, At the same time, you make concrete cheap and then set the builders alight. Just be like, look, this concrete, look at how cheap the concrete is. Selling chunks of land and opening up. I think we need to open up some crown land maybe. I don't know. We do seem to have a lot of land. Maybe the government starts buying up chunks of land and selling it to builder groups, approved building groups for $1 or $0 or whatever. At the same time, concrete needs to be cheap. Just concrete formed buildings. You make them nice and round if you want to make them look pretty, but make a few designs, architectural designs, approved by the federal government that'll allow you to buy the cheap land, get the cheap concrete, and then they just have to watch the concrete being shipped out and sold to other countries. But there's a way of making concrete cheap, and that needs to be done. That's it. That's just simple, and so they can build. And we don't want to ruin the economy, so you build small, tiny units that people that are, and they want to move out because it's too small. They want to grow, right? We don't want to the housing, building, real estate industry. I think is a good industry. I think it's a good way to keep the economy rolling. You want to go up and blah blah blah. Gets people working. They work on their own houses. These things are pretty good. They're good overall. Though it's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control because capitalism has no control. By definition, it's not about control. It's about just growth and growing. And then what happened is it went silly. The wealthy people who are involved in it took over the industry. Most poor homes are like owned by wealthy people. They own 70 homes here. So that's what created the problem. It's good, but it's just like a habit, right? You have I smoke once a week. Like I would smoke, off and on my whole life, but but sometimes if I let it get to me, you could smoke a whole pack. Well, that's not good, right? I don't know. It was a bad analogy, but like anything, even good things can be bad, right? You eat too many carrots, that can be bad for you. Apparently, it's what. This needs to be worked on, but I don't think they're going to. And the problem is the conservatives need to get out of their corporate logo worries to argue this, to make this point. And they won't. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to wait for slips, and slips aren't enough because Carney isn't He's got, he's wearing cleats or whatever you want to say. He ain't slipping. I don't think you're going to get him on any big scandal. It'll happen. Of course, one of his MPs will do something. One of them will do something. But it'll be probably someone on the outside because he seems to have, too much. They need to go outside of their conservative thing to be able to think. But now, that's in time, right? Because they can't. Doesn't matter how good they are and how many people hate the government for the next at least 2 years. Nothing we can do about it. So finding the flaws, helping improvements and incremental things. That's where they're at. But at the same time, I think the conservatives need to figure out how to break out of their whole mentality and help the people that are homeless now. That's a small percentage compared to what I believe is going to happen in the future with AI. The transition. No, wrong word. I don't like that word. I hate that word. The move to AI taking over is going to be harsh, right? It's just like anyone who moves fast. Right, has trouble with those that aren't, right? I don't know. I'm trying. I'm reaching for words.
Minister for excusez-moi, l'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm happy to hear for the first time a question on a very, very important file. We know that housing is something that's very, very important in Indigenous communities. That's why I am proud to work with my colleague, and we're going to launch the program to build Canada Strong, to build homes, and to build homes in Indigenous communities with them to meet their specific needs. I'm proud to do that work with them, and we will continue to work forward in that way. The Honourable Member for Côte-Nord, Kawa-Wachigamak, Nitassinan. Mr. Speaker, the Indigenous housing crisis has been denounced for decades by every community. It's not just a housing issue, it's a question of human rights, education, health, and safety, and dignity. For 5 years now, the federal government has taken on the obligation on international law to resolve this crisis. The Assembly of First Nations of Quebec and Labrador has already calculated that there's a shortage of 10,000 housing units in Quebec alone, not to mention the 8,000 that need to be renovated and the 4,000 that need to be decontaminated. The federal government had promised that this would be fixed by 2030. When will they work with communities to develop a predictable and achievable plan? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For decades, there was underinvestment and discrimination in this file. I am proud to work with this government, the only government that's decided to take a position to add and increase homes under this file to meet the needs of Indigenous nations in Quebec and across the country. I'm proud to do this work. I am very happy to know that in the urban, rural, and northern building program, we're doing this work together, not just with First Nations, but with those who are living in urban areas as well. It's very important to do that work.
The government's excuses for the Liberal recession kept changing. First, they said it was world factors. Then we pointed out that none of the other G20 countries are in recession. Mexico, which shares a border with the U.S., and is fully integrated with the U.S. economy, is not in a recession. Only this country under this Liberal Prime Minister is in recession. So his explanation yesterday was we see some weakness in part because of clear decisions by the government. That's at least fair. He claims that we're not bringing enough immigration. If that's the case, Mr. Speaker, why is it that Canada has the lowest per capita GDP growth of any G7 country?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Energy. Mr. Speaker.
You are something the Leader of the Opposition conveniently forgets and doesn't forget, depending how it serves him. That's why today, with the lumber tariff remain unjustified and unfair to workers, businesses, and communities, we've actually announced enhanced BDC loans, 2 new direct lending facilities, $400 million to regional development agencies, and billions of dollars to support our forestry projects across Canada. We're going to continue to work with province and territory.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister cannot even get up and defend his economic record. It is so bad. Instead, he has one of his backbenchers explain that they're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on new bureaucracies that they've set up. That's exactly why the economy's in recession, because he's continued on with the same Liberal policies of the last 10 years, the same anti-development laws, the same expansion of the bureaucracy, the same corporate welfare, 12 new government agencies, and Canadians paying the bill with higher and higher prices. The question again, though, we all know that Canada is the only G20 country in recession. Can he explain why Canada has the lowest per capita GDP growth in the G7?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Canadians don't want theatrics. That Conservative leader knows full well that we are in a trade war. That is creating real headwinds for the Canadian economy. But, Mr. Speaker, we have a plan, and we are confident in that plan. Mr. Speaker, one key pillar of that plan is building infrastructure. Major projects in the national interest, community infrastructure like roads and bridges and hospitals right across this country with Canadian steel. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, we made a historic investment in the skilled trades. That's how you build a Canada strong.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister really believed any of any of that. He'd get up and say it himself. But instead, he states a few falsehoods, and then he goes into hiding, and he can't defend his own position. Instead, he's spreading false information when he says investment is up. Let me quote Statistics Canada, just verbatim, from their own government stats agency. Business capital investment fell 0.7% in the first quarter of 2026, the fifth consecutive quarterly decline. Does this meet the master economist's definition of a technical recession? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, what Canadians are hearing here is not the sound of fury. It's the sound of nothing. He has no plan, no fiscal plan, no economic plan, no industrial plan, no defense and security plan, no supports.
Here is the attempt
track record of spending $9 million in his personal office in 2024.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question was for the Prime Minister, but he continues to be unable to defend his own economic track record. This was supposed to be his great strength, but once again, we see the same thing every time he goes anywhere. He gets a fancy title, a tiny group of people get very rich, making everybody else poor. There's a small group who get handouts and favors, whether for space pads or for $200,000 of meals in private jets, while the Canadian people end up paying the price with the only recession in the G20. Will he stand up today and tell us, are we in a technical recession or a real recession? Which is
the Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicolau. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, in the House today, there's a lot of rhetoric, Mr. Speaker, coming from the other side. And let me say, Mr. Speaker, you know what? I've been traveling across the country talking to farmers. Nobody over there has been talking to farmers, Mr. Speaker. Nobody over there has been talking to farmers.
Definitely not going to finish on time today. Okay, colleagues, we got to get through this. We have to get through this. We got to get through it. We've got to get through it. No, not from the top. Not from the top. Although I'm tempted. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Mr. Speaker, you know, every time I get my feet in this House and talk about farmers, it's a good day, Mr. Speaker. It's a good day. And if that's what it takes to get a reaction over there about how important farming is in this country, then that's what we need to do, Mr. Speaker. And I'll do it every time, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Centre. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was for the Prime Minister, and this is supposed to be his great strength. Remember, we were told he was a master economist. Well, I guess he must have some sort of unique ability to be the only leader in the G7 to find a way to negotiate his economy into a recession. Every other one of the 19 countries have avoided a recession. Mexico neighbors with the United States as well, has avoided a recession. And it is because of the liberal policies that he continues to implement and even accelerate that we find ourselves in this place. But the problem is the Prime Minister can't get us out of a recession if he can't first admit that we are in one. So will he stand today and tell us, are we in a recession?
Fisheries and Ocean.
Mr. Speaker, I want to share with everyone in the House and all Canadians listening some good news. Almost $1 billion for small craft harbors. What this means for Canada's rural, coastal, Indigenous communities is the place...
Can't hear. Okay, colleagues, let's hear the answer. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans may continue for now. Who knows? We may have to stop again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So these small craft harbors are the core of our rural, coastal, Indigenous communities. That support is generational. I also am working with my colleagues across the country to ensure that the fish funds, another critical source of support for harvesters in this country, that funding is out shortly.
The Honourable Member for Pierrefonds-Dollard. Mr. Speaker.
Third day, which we also mark during National Disability Week. Cette semaine, nous soulignons.
This week, we highlight the contributions of people with disabilities and the need to promote an obstacle-free Canada. We want to build a strong Canada that is accessible.
Disability benefit and the Disability Inclusion Action Plan are building a more accessible and inclusive society for all. Can the Minister of Jobs and Families highlight how the Spring Economic Update is helping to build a barrier-free Canada?
Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Inclusivity is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Because when people have a chance to thrive, our entire country grows. I thank my colleague for his question, and in our economic update, we announced 43 disabilities that will be eligible for a streamlined disability tax credit application. We've also expanded the list of practitioners who can certify people for the credit. The Disability and Inclusion Action Plan and the Canada Accessibility Act will continue to guide our government's work towards a barrier-free Canada by 2040. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question is for the Prime Minister. Obviously, American tariffs on Canada are wrong, but so is forced labor. And this Liberal government refuses to crack down on forced labor products coming into our supply chain from the Xinjiang province in China. For example, in 2024 alone, the Americans blocked 6,947 shipments of products originating in the Xinjiang province in order to stop forced labor. Here, this Liberal government only stopped 2 shipments in 5 years. Will the government ban all products coming from the Xinjiang province and end slavery once and for all?
Mr. Speaker, Canada has some of the most rigorous forced labor laws in the world, and we condemn forced labor everywhere it exists, including in my meeting last Friday with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of China. Every good that enters this country is subject to rigorous import controls and screening. We allocated $600 million in last year's budget to address forced labor, Mr. Speaker, and we prioritize the inclusion of comprehensive labor provisions in free trade agreements to promote international labor standards. We stand with workers everywhere.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
$600 million? They announced $600 million to stop 2 shipments, and they stand with workers everywhere in the world. Are you kidding, Mr. Speaker? They're undermining Canadian wages by having multinationals take away Canadian jobs and give them to regimes that use forced labor and slavery, and now Canadian workers are facing potential tariff threats, which will compound the cost to Canada. This Prime Minister has never condemned the genocide and slavery in the Xinjiang province because of his corporate interests. Will he stand up today and say that he's condemning that kind of forced labor in Xinjiang?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs on a very important question.
Mr. Speaker, I want to underline that Canada will always protect the rights of workers within and outside this country. The $600 million allocated in last year's budget is on top of a number of measures that we have taken in our negotiations, in our free trade agreements with other countries around the world, a point I emphasized last Friday when I spoke with China's Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that our economy at the same time has grown by more than 17% in terms of our exports.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the question was for the Prime Minister. I asked if he would stand in this House and condemn the forced labor practices by the regime in Beijing carried out on people in the Xinjiang province. And I know that this is a tough issue for him because his company is seeking to expand its business. His company in China, and his company took a $200 million loan from a Chinese state-backed bank, so he does not want to compromise those interests. Will he put aside, put people before profits, and stand up today and condemn forced labor in the Xinjiang province? Yes or no?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs on the front lines of our relationship with China and countries around the world. We wholeheartedly and emphatically condemned forced labor wherever it occurs. In addition, in our free trade negotiations with countries around the world, we underline and ensure that we are condemning forced labor. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to grow the Canadian economy strong, not only concluding 20 agreements on the economy and security and defense worldwide, but also ensuring that we're responsibly investing.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister refuses to stand up and condemn the forced labor in the Xinjiang province because, of course, he does not want to jeopardize his corporate profits, in which he's continually invested, Mr. Speaker, even though that it comes at the expense of Canadian workers. Canadian workers lose out when they have to compete with forced labor, and Canadian workers lose out when there are punitive tariffs as a result. So I'll give the Prime Minister one last chance. Put people before profit. Will the Prime Minister stand up and announce that he's going to ban shipments of any goods from the Xinjiang province, which is renowned for forced labor? Yes or no?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Trade.
Speaker, thank you very much. As the Minister before me said, forced labor is absolutely unacceptable. That is why we're working always hard to ensure that we have our supply chain completely protected. That's why various departments within Government of Canada, as per the strict laws we have in place, work all the time to ensure that we stop any shipments that is a result of forced labor. In fact, Speaker, that is why in all our trade agreements, we make sure that we have stringent labor provisions to uphold international labor standards. We will continue to do so to make sure that we protect Canadian workers and workers abroad.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Clearly, Donald Trump's tariffs are unjustified and unjustifiable. But forced labor is also unjustified and unjustifiable. But this Liberal government has done nothing to protect Canadians against products built with this slavery. Under Joe Biden, they stopped 6,947 shipments of products from the Xinjiang province. This Liberal government stopped 2 of them. When will this Liberal government ban products from Xinjiang?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, forced labor is unacceptable. We need to ensure that our supply chains on the global level are free of these abusive practices. We work closely with the ministers to ensure that there is no one resorting to forced labor in the supply chain. This is why we focus as a priority on including comprehensive provisions in the free trade agreement so that we can promote international labor laws. Mr. Speaker, the question was for the Prime Minister. We learned, in fact, we know that Canadian workers lose out whenever we import work that is made with forced labor because it reduces wages and takes away jobs from Canadians. And now Canadians could lose even more because of these tariffs from the U.S. that are linked to goods that are bought from those regions where they use forced labor. When will the Prime Minister finally take action to ban all products coming from Xinjiang? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, all goods entering the country are subject to import controls and to rigorous verification. The agency does everything required to intercept any of these goods that could be
No. All right. Okay, here, buddy. I don't know this minister very much, though I want to make a point here. I think he shouldn't be defending the I don't want to say agency, but the efforts of the agency. Instead, it's I was eating soup. I got it all over me. So, yeah. Instead, I think he should be saying it's unprecedented. That way. It's unprecedented amounts of contraband, whatever word you want to use. I like contraband. Because Contra, you remember, if anyone's near my age, Contra, if you ever played that, oh, that was so fun, that game. It is so much. We're working on it. We're increasing the tools. Our engineering controls are being put into place. It's a lot of hard work. I admit that we're not there, though every day is getting better. Why do I say that? Well, I won't name the department store, but I was doing construction, and we have a code book, okay, in Canada. And in that code book, building code, and in that building code, it has in it the standards of the materials that come into Canada. And this big box store, right, was selling things that were not to that building code. Do I blame the agency? Do I blame the buyer? No, not really. You probably didn't know, right? You thought, oh, this looks like a good product. It's a new, good product. It doesn't follow standards. Canadian standards for building. Building is different. That's why when you're a builder, you very rarely go to the big box stores. You know, lumber is different, I guess. You go to like Home Hardware and stuff for lumber. And I'm not talking about Home Hardware. Home Hardware is a store that very strictly abides by the CSA building standard mostly. I have a lot of respect for them for that. They don't have as many products as the other ones, but they have the products that are in that. Most of them, I would say 99.9, very, very high percentage. So that getting those materials out of the stores, those people have to actually go to the stores sometimes and to see what they're selling, and then to find out how it's coming in and blah blah blah. And work with the company, of course, because let the company sell the merch they have, as long as it's not like major harm. But that's the only way we can really bring it to. And I'm just talking about building materials. Yes, there's a lot of purchases in building materials, but everything. And we're talking about, like, when you're talking about implementing into factory products, holy crap, right? Or like into manufacturing products, like you're buying pieces from other places. It is very daunting. AI will help with that. and they're going to fail all the time. They're never going to get it right because there's devious people. There's people who don't know, which, can't expect them to know everything. And there's new products that aren't approved yet. So, it's the government job, and it's not I don't think it's an adversarial position. It's something that it can be, but it's something if you work with the companies and you work with that's just the start. Then it's at the ports. Then there's sneaking things. And then there's like these guys that are at the ports inspecting. They don't always know. Like, they have to know every single product. They have to know every single thing. It's very, very, very difficult. And we are not doing good. We are picking stuff because we're importing so much of our materials and not making our own bowls even in our own country anymore, or silverware or any of that stuff. These people, we don't have enough staff to take care of that. We don't. He needs a huge budget. I don't think the Canadian public would be willing to spend what we need to spend to keep it right. So I'm not, with this individual, I'm not trashing him. I just think he should be a little more humble, because his task is climb a mountain, but he's not a man. He's an ant. That's how big this problem is. And I don't mean him like, I mean the task. He seems decent. It's just a very difficult task, and I see this problem as huge, where most people see it as nothing. Like, that's a nothing burger, but I'm like, this is why we don't have blue-collar work. We're losing blue-collar work because we're letting things that people in the government, I'm getting excited, people in the government have worked days, weeks, and to figure out the materials and stuff that are allowed in this country and the areas and the reasons. They've done all that work. They did all that. And then we can't do the other end, and we just let it all in. So that work is just, that is very, to me, frustrating. And when you allow, the more products that we disallow into our country, the more will have to be manufactured here. I believe in having a very strong manufacturing base, in efficient manufacturing base, building bowls, making cups, small, easily manufactured things in 3-man factories. That's, we don't need to have one factory that supplies the whole world of porcelain. We don't. It won't make the world any better. What is liberalism? What's the definition of liberalism? I believe in liberalism. I think liberalism sounds like good, but liberals Liberalism is a political and philosophical tradition founded on the protection of individual liberty, equality before law, and the consent of the government. At its core, it champions constitutional government, democracy, private property, and fundamental human rights such as freedom of speech, religion, and press. I am for liberalism, like without a doubt. And when I look at if that is the definition, sir, I get it too. Hey, if you want to make a joke about it, your old Leo son, Leo son, huh? Leo son, giving books back, giving presents back. Imagine that, getting invited to a party and then getting kicked out for nothing. Yeah. What? We're basically, yeah. How's Iran doing? How's that job going? Talk about okay. All right. You threw me for fun. So this guy's got a difficult task, almost impossible task. I think he needs to give a humble answer and say, listen, try to give a visual of how big of a task he has ahead of him and how hard he's working to get it, instead of, it's good, because it isn't good. We need to, I think, once you make a law saying, hey, let's stop slavery, products made with any form of slavery coming into our country. We need to do that, or else there's no point in saying it. Why would you say it? You know, deeds, not words. Nah, I don't agree with that, because that usually leads to evil things. Deeds after words. That's it. And the politicians, they did the right job. He's wearing a glass. He must have had some, the former speaker, some surgery done. What needs to be done is the politicians do the hard work, all that paper boring stuff that everyone's watching politics here and stuff. No one's watching the real stuff that's going on behind the scenes, which I find is the best, the policy and the writing and all the parsing of the word, this or that, or should or shall. Like there's a big difference between should and shall. It's huge, right? That, to me, excites me. I don't expect many people to get excited by that, you know, to each. And if that isn't followed up, all the rhetoric and all that stuff, it doesn't mean anything, right? And that's awful to have a government that a person who worked hard on something that was approved by everybody, right? You know what I mean? It wasn't a partisan thing, like approved by everyone, went through the votes and everything, and then they're like, well, you know, it's pretty hard to do this, so we just won't. But if we were to do the work and to stop a lot of products that are not acceptable according to laws and stuff like that, pre-written and codes and all this stuff, right? Then what do you got, right? If we don't stop, if it isn't a part of these codes, it needs to be blocked. So we can build it here or find a place that does build it. But I would prefer it attempting identify what I would do with it. Another idea just popped. Identify products that are worldwide problematic and say we have to build a manufacturing base for these products in our country. And I mean, as long as they're not harmful, environmental, costly, and all these weird things that, you know, like critical minerals. But, you know, most normal products manufacturing, and build them here and create a tax incentive, not an incentive as much as a tax break for their employees. Like, you know, the employees don't pay income tax, so they don't have to pay their people as much, right? How about that? They don't have to pay building tax or federal tax for 20 years. So we can alleviate that. And it'll also, what it'll do, it'll show the weight to the world. They're like, holy crap, Canada won't buy our products? They made their own there? You know, that's leading through due diligence, right? I think so. I think that's the way you lead. You lead by what you've thought, you reflected, you've researched, you've got minds, brilliant minds. Some of these people are brilliant. You know, some of them are scoundrels. Some of them are rhetoricians and wordsmites. You know, they did all that work, and a good country listens to that and uses it to the fullest extent, not to hurt its own citizens, to only help their citizens. My opinions, I know they aren't there. Like, you know, there's literally no one on my screen. So there you go. What do you think? Let's watch. See you, Leo.
We want to make sure we have high standards for all workers.
Leader of the opposition. Mr. Speaker, once again, the Prime Minister was asked a direct question. He refuses to stand up, and he can't even condemn forced labor and slavery because it runs counter to his corporate interest. And this is the old story with him. A small group of liberal insiders, members of the club, multinational corporations, get fabulously rich, making everyone else terribly poor. While his corporate profits have gone up and he's dodging his taxes on those profits, the Canadian people are suffering even more with the only recession in the G20. Will he stand up today and reverse those policies?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of International
Speaker, it's worth repeating that forced labor is completely unacceptable. We take all steps necessary to ensure that we keep our supply chain free from forced labor. We, in fact, put a lot of work and rigor into ensuring that in all our trade agreements, we have stringent labor standards and provisions according to international labor standards. We will continue to do that work. We will continue to enforce our laws. We will continue to make sure that our supply chain is free of forced labor so that we can protect Canadian workers and workers abroad.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
You can see that individual. I'm sorry, I don't even know the MP's name. I think I should. Alqui. I don't know. I don't want to talk out of turn. He was heated, and the second answer was good. That was good. That was almost what I would have said, almost. So some people work better when they're a little bit, and it got him a little under the collar, and his answer was pretty good. You know, I think it would have been the big problem. It is to thing, and we need technologies to assist or hire many people. But then again, that would sound defeatist. So I don't know. He did a good answer, is what I'm trying to say. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, while Canadians suffer, this Prime Minister is silent. He sits back while 112,000 jobs have been lost in the first 3 months of this year alone. The second highest unemployment in the G7, the only recession in the G20, an economy that has lost investment in 5 consecutive quarters, $20 billion of net investment that has fled the country, a 32% increase in mortgage delinquencies, people who can't make their monthly payments and risk losing their homes. Will he stand up in the House of Commons and at least acknowledge that he created this recession so that he can tell us how he's going to reverse the policies so we can get out of it?
Here, here. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of that House, we've been busy to build the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, we started with Budget 2025 with generational investment in infrastructure, in housing, in productivity, in our defense, Mr. Speaker. And you know what? The numbers that just came out prove it. In a sense, we've seen record level of investment in this country, Mr. Speaker. We have seen that investment in machinery and equipment is up, Mr. Speaker. We have seen that investment in intellectual property is up, Mr. Speaker. And we have seen that government spending is down, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7, Mr. Speaker.
That MP, Philippe Champagne, the AKA, what do they call him? The Chihuahua. I think it's a decent name. It's decent. If he were to get buff, I think he could really be. He's becoming so much better. He always did attack backs. His attacks, I didn't always understand them. I think he was just too smart. He was, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, I know there's an attack, but I don't get it. And then next one. Now I think he's dumbed it down for us little people, for me, for the little brains, and he's gotten better. You can see, I think he would be good and better at question period because you can see he gets mad. He gets very upset, like Chihuahuas do. Have you ever seen a Chihuahua? Like when they get upset, they're like, "Wow, that thing is like very vicious," and he gets it. That's why I don't see that as a bad nickname. Of course, it's not a great one, but you know, he did that attacks that were pretty good, and his rhetoric and his answers are way better under this new regime, liberal regime. I think it's the guy in the corner there beside Jolie. I think it's him. Pointing. I don't know if can you even see him. Yeah, that guy in the corner there. Here, see that guy? Right there. There you go. Right, the only guy in the corner with the Jolie there. McClellan is House Leader, and he's changed the way the conservative, the liberals are speaking back. They're actually answering questions. They're trying to, which because before them not answering questions is like, oh my gosh, I yell at the screen like a silly dog. But now they're answering the questions, giving attacks back. Like Pierre, if he were to do question period from beginning to end, only him, he would have a bad day every day because he'd get 30 jabs back, He's opposition. His job is to attack. It's his job. If he doesn't do it, who's going to? I can't do it. They'll demonetize me. If I go too hard on this stuff, they will demonetize you. That's it. And it's happened more than once. You know, I wish they would just demonetize a video, one at a, you know, not the whole fucking channel, you fuckers. You know, just like, come on. But it's that's it. The reason why I believe in our system more than I believe in the American system. I like the American system as well. I'm not against it, but I'm just using that because we everyone knows it. It's because the opposition is strong. Now, when we had strong media in the 80s and 90s, the media was strong. I remember, I don't want to remember, Bev Oda, CBC just video after video on Bev Oda on the orange juice she bought. She apologized. They did more on her. She paid the money back. They did more on her. Basically, the CBC and CTV probably, but I was only CBC then. They straightened out that situation of any MP buying something that was outside of normal parameters. It was expensive orange juice. She was in Iceland, and anyone knows anything about Iceland, it's you don't grow oranges in Iceland, and it's far from everything. So, and they have an income tax system there that's ridiculous. They don't have an income tax. It's when you buy stuff or something like that. So their cost of items are very high. None of that was said. But we don't have that right now. Now we have the big, strong media. Like CBC doesn't have the viewers. CTV, they don't have as many viewers as the Yaya channels. And you know, nothing against the Yaya channels, but a Yaya channel is like a 1-2 person show. They ain't doing the research. They don't care about the research. They're taking off of the big players and then spinning it as they can because all this is about views. Some of them have integrity. Most of them don't. It's about throwing slander and getting clicks. It's a boxing match, which is it's an important part of politics. It's not everything. And the other parts of it that we needed the media can't do anymore. First of all, no one's watching it. CBC can write crap about me or bullshit that has nothing to do with me, or someone else, or make things like cast. This is what they do. They can cast aspersions all they want. No one's fucking reading you. It doesn't matter. You know, it's irrelevant. You shouldn't even try. It's silly when you have 20 readers. You know, and you're doing it to the already convinced. There is a way out of this. It's coming. I'm not going to give it away. It's coming out. The small players will be coming. And it's a good answer, I think. I believe it's coming. And I read about it and I see it. I'm not going to be the one to, I don't know if it's true. I don't want to be a prophecy here. But that was how it was. The media could. But now with this individual, look, they can just cancel me. I wrote, the last time I got a cancel or whatever, I wrote, I don't know if I believe in Canada. And it's just true. I don't know. We have politicians, all they can talk about is investors. Like, investors have the stock market. Investors have all kinds of vehicles to you know, but the citizens who don't have that, how about we worry about? And how about let's not worry about investments and stuff like that from other countries only. And that's all they see. I keep hearing it. Investments. Because that's what's on their mind. Our literal society is gone wrong, and all we are is an investment society, and it's not good. It's not good to be a pure investor. Very few pure investors are good people. Warren Buffett's one of them. Most of them become horrible people. It's the business. It's not the people. It destroys people. It destroys them. It is the second most dangerous business to go towards evil. No, to go. It's not evil is strong. To go towards destroying your wholesome being. It really is. I believe it 100%. And we need investors, stuff like that. But when he's talking about investors in these big projects, we're talking about investors, foreign investors, rich people from other countries, rich countries that invest. There's a lot of them. A lot of countries that invest are not very good to their people. And that's what we're doing. We're colonizing. By saying investment, we're colonizing our own country. It's just stupid. And I didn't agree with it then, and I don't agree with it now. It's just stupid. We don't need a politician to work for an investor. And that's what we got. So I said that. I got demonetized. I'm like, holy shit, what did I do? Well, I wrote one thing. I don't know if I believe in the country. And I don't. I don't think. Like, in the long run, yes, damn it. But not in the short. This next few years, we have a politician whose only concern is the big money. Well, that doesn't work. That's called, like I said, that big bad C word. Big bad C word. It has to be a huge investment in the people of this country, or else we're going to continue. I don't think that Carney is going to be the savior. It's unfortunate. I thought he was. I really did. Him with that company he worked for that the Conservatives are bashing all the time. That company is one of the best companies in the world. They do the biggest projects, and they do it in the best possible way, in almost every way. Of course, they're not perfect, but this company is one of the shining examples of how to make tons of money, hand over fist, and do it with respect for everyone, the planet included. I don't understand why why there isn't anyone defending him. Like, a lot of investors should know. Like, if you invest in Canada and you buy a basket, you have them. Brookfield is in your thing. There are some things to complain about them because it's a company, but it's a company. If they're not making money, they're not a business. You know what I mean? They don't have to be perfect, but they're the closest thing I think of to a big major company that's perfect. I thought he was going to push that and burn his political capital. I hope he does, because he hasn't now. He's basically doing conservative. He's talking like a conservative too much, and it's not. It won't work. It's just not going to work. It's just more of the same. And I think, I don't know. I think we got a few years and maybe some new political rising stars and stuff like that. The only other way out of this horrible thinking is if America has a big, it does build this $18 trillion or whatever investment, turns into a demand from products from us and everywhere else, anywhere they can get it, because they gotta build it, make it, do it. Is a way out of the system of, I believe, our inevitable, not downfall, but our inevitable decline. We're declining. It's and AI shouldn't be the savior. The savior should have a heartbeat. It's my opinion. Means nothing. I don't even know. There's not even anyone probably watching this, but it doesn't matter. I'm doing it anyway because I like it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Instead of standing and answering the question, this Liberal Prime Minister has his Finance Minister not just state slogan after slogan after slogan, but slogans that are exactly false. He says one of their slogans is the fastest growing economy in the G7. He has the only recession in the G7. The other slogan is more investment, when Statistics Canada says business capital investment fell 0.7% in the first quarter of 2026, the fifth consecutive quarterly decline. Then he says government spending is down. He's doubled the deficit. Why is it whenever they say something is up, it's down?
The Honourable Minister. Finance.
I'm quite happy to talk about numbers with the Leader of the Opposition. In fact, the OCDE came out this morning to say Canada would have the second fastest growing economy for 26 and 27, Mr. Speaker. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're focused on affordability. And the good news is on the 5th of June, Mr. Speaker, 12 million Canadians will receive support, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we know how to build a strong economy. We know how to build a resilient economy, but we know how to take care of Canadians at the time of need, Mr. Speaker. We'll build Canada strong for all.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil, La Petite Nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government is making historic investments to help communities build the infrastructure they need to grow, to prosper. Yesterday, we announced a major agreement with Quebec to support public transit and essential infrastructure in our communities. These investments help build stronger and better connected communities across Quebec. Can the minister explain how this agreement will translate into tangible benefits for Quebecers and their communities? The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for the question. Yesterday, in fact, with the Government of Quebec, we announced over $10 billion for infrastructure, public transit, one of the largest investments in the history of Quebec. These investments support the infrastructure needed for housing construction, healthcare infrastructure, as well as public transit. Mr. Speaker, the time has come to build.
Riding Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, documents now reveal that the Liberals' $300 million prescribed IT failure processed less than 5% of prescriptions at its peak. That means after burning through $300 million, prescribed IT failed to deliver 95% of prescriptions. When Conservatives on the Health Committee tried to investigate, Liberals MPs shut off the cameras. Then they abruptly shut down meetings. Yesterday, they blocked an emergency meeting to prevent the Health Minister from testifying. Why are the Liberals blocking the Health Committee from investigating a $300 million prescribed IT scandal?
The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder why the Conservatives are blocking the study on HIV that is constantly before the committee. They're constantly doing that. I don't think the Conservatives really seem to care about health. I've discussed the matter with you a number of times. Perhaps you could allow work to progress.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
The Liberals are denying Canadians transparency on the $300 million that was wasted on prescribed IT. At the Health Committee, they've turned off the cameras, shut down meetings, and blocked the minister from testifying. Conservatives are prepared to work through the summer to get to the bottom of this scandal. Why are the Liberals blocking the Health Committee from investigating this $300 million prescribed IT failure?
This is news to me, but I wonder, do they get paid for the summer? Maybe Parliament should be going on through the summer. At least committees.
The Honourable Minister of Health. I'll reiterate that the Conservatives are actually stalling the work of the committee on the study they were doing on AIDS, because we're dealing with a crisis throughout this country that seems to be of no interest to them. I would add to that I appeared before Finance Committee 2 days ago, and a member from the opposition side, the Conservative, asked me questions about prescribed IT, and I answered those questions, Mr. Speaker. I think I've answered the Conservatives' questions.
That there, MP, her answer was a dig, whatever. Her question was the old way. It was under the Trudeau regime. That's how they answered. They didn't. And that was why the Conservatives were going to go to probably the biggest majority the Conservatives had ever seen. So that was exactly how you don't answer a question, by digging some other, I don't even know what the hell. They're talking about a scandal, and then you answer with this. But people are watching, blue-collar people are watching this, and they don't laugh at the jest. Right? They don't. Most people don't laugh at, she. No, we don't really. That's like hoity-toity rich elite bullshit, and it's not. People that deal with putting things together and building, they aren't like that. It's like I'll do a sting and you won't see it. No, they're gonna do this, and that's why I like blue-collar people better. This like, you think you're doing this. Well, I let it always slide. And then, the best thing to do is do you take them all? Because when people are like that and they try to attack you, I don't know what she was doing there. She was diverting and some other slights or whatever. Like, I don't have any, anything. But when you have these type of elites, the best thing is just take it, write it down, and then you do your nice rebuttals and stuff like that, and then some good trashes, and then as you leave, so have a good day, do all your pleasant, because I believe in Canadian polite P's and Q's, and you give them the note, and you're like, here, maybe even a week later, mail it to them. Be like, you know what I mean? So they think they're like, yeah, I made fun of that girl or that guy or whatever, and then they get the letter when they're privately in their own home. There's something called it. There's something type of personality, and that's kind of more. I'm not the type to as much to get heated, angry, and people think that about me. Heated, angry, and attack back. I'm more the type that you piss me off, I'll grab a book and I'll put it on the floor. It's nothing, right? Well, what was that book? What was it doing on the floor? What is this? That's the gravy. That's the juice. It's a nicer way of doing it. Well, as I'm saying, the type of political non-answers, that was what was he calling it? The non-answers is literally over. You can't do that. You have to try to answer the question. And when they get you, because that's what the idea, what the whole point of that question was, is we found something, we're going to get you. Ask that question. Sometimes you got to admit they found something, and I'm working on it. And people are like, yeah, okay, well, I'm working on it. In a couple months, if those questions happen day after day after day and the same answer, I'm working on, well, then, then that question will sink in. But you can have that question be, at least things, and honestly try, right? Because people can see through the baloney, or an opposition has the staff and the wherewithal to understand, because they're a shadow. They're usually, you know what I mean? They're focused on what's happening in that department. So they'll know if something's happening or not. So they'll be able to rebuttal it. Like, that's why this system works, because they can't just I don't know. She's the health minister, I guess. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. If that health minister doesn't like me, she can find a way to get me canceled. She can find a way to have a CBC not do that story if it's that disastrous or that they're determined so much, right? And find a way, or guide the story a little bit away. They can't do that with opposition, because the opposition gains their glory and their wherewithal and their paycheck by finding the fault. And they can't shut them down. If a liberal or any government party were to remove an opposition party, the country will freaking explode. You can't do that. Trump wouldn't even attempt to do that. He won't even attempt to remove a congressman or a senator he'll rail at them. Maybe media. People have accused the media of going away. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's happened, but not the opposition. And that is the strength of our system, is that if you have a good opposition, we can have, this opposition's pretty good. It does their job. You have a good opposition, you have a government that is held to account by somebody. We all know the problem. There's only been, like, how many Roman emperors were good? They said, this is like written like by the historians, right? And I mock historians a little bit, but they're the right? They're the bomb, the stuff. And how many were good? Like they said 5 were good, and of those 5, 1, maybe 2, Hadrian and Marcus Aurelius. That's it. And I'm talking historians who've read the background material. Right? They didn't just do the Coles Notes stuff. They read it. So, they, you know what I mean? And it's a general consensus that most of them were bad people, or they became bad. Most of them actually became bad. That's actually what happened. The Rome system of getting up there, majority of the time, it raised the best people to lead them. But the problem was they found, I think that collectively the world found, right, the No Kings thing, was that it can lead very easily to megalomania, to the disease of our mind. It's a human fault. 2 out of hey Google, how many Roman emperors and leaders were there in total? There's like lots.
Estimating the number of Roman emperors is difficult because it depends on whether you count every usurper and co-emperor or only those with full authority. Most historians
Over 140. Hey Google. Thank you. So we're talking less than 1%. We're good. Less than 1. Hey Google. Thank you. It's telling me I'm good. I don't like that. It's starting to be wouldn't worry about you. Well, I do worry about AI. But so 2 out of 140. Wow. Stink. You know? The requirement to have opposition was proven by Rome, that most people can't handle it, and they won't handle it. Is they're just not in them, right? You know, the material world is the you know, it's the best and the worst.
Okay, we're having cross-cutting discussions here. Please, the honourable member from Vancouver Quadra, then the honourable member for Vernon. Yeah. The honourable member for Kitchener South Hespeler.
Thank you, Speaker. Here's a question the Minister of Health has never answered. She knows that Prescribe IT was a $300 million waste of taxpayer money. She knows the organization in charge of that program was so badly run, she had to get the CEO fired just last month. Given that she knows all this, what I can't understand, why would she give that same organization, one who can't point to one tangible thing they've accomplished in 10 years, why would she give them another $50 million of taxpayer money this year? It doesn't make sense.
Shane. The Honourable Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, I was unaware of the fact that I had given money to the organization between the money that was budgeted for, the $50 million that were provided for, and dispersed. Those are two separate things. What I would say to the opposition is this, as I've already said, we are currently revising the model for this organization, and I will affirm this. Yes, Canadians need a connected healthcare system and healthcare infrastructure within the country.
Newton.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives.
Okay, that's 2. Okay, I railed on her a little bit long, I guess. It wasn't her. It was a point that I'm formulating my own opinions and thoughts for philosophical reasons to write in my book, right? Like my books. I feel, you know, I'm the AI is going to be able to, you know, outdo us all soon. So there's time's ticking. But she answered it that question. I didn't give the $50 million. It's like, it's the system. We're revising the system. We're working on it. We're doing better. You know what that did? I was just like, I was looking at a serene lake, you know? It was like a viewing pond or whatever you want to call those things. That's what she answered. That's what it was. The guy had a very, very, he directly pointedly asked it. She directly pointedly answered it back. Me as a viewer, I felt I was on his side when he's asking this question. I don't know anything except how he's presenting it to me, and I was there with him, and she untied the knot by saying the right thing, that I'm working on it. The system was there. There's some things. We need this into our health system. It's not like we can get away with it, and we're working on it going forward. It's going to be better, right? It's like a small mea culpa with an explanation, and it's diffused. The Conservatives don't have anything. They can keep asking that question, and she can keep giving that answer, and then adding, like I said yesterday. But in 2 months, if that were still to be a problem, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever every issue, then they got him. Then they can say, okay, look, it's been going on for this time. Blah, blah, blah. You've been working on it, nothing is getting done. Then they will have some, but that's 3 months. They've gotten 3 months out of something that could have just instantly, if you answer it incorrectly, instantly you had everybody on that conservative member's side, of the argument. Anyway, just all about, rhetoric. I know rhetoric is the question period. It's not my favorite part of it. I love rhetoric, but it's very important. And I know some people are like, oh, rhetoric, he's the old one. No, I'm about policy, but no one. I can't if I were to do a channel on policies and stuff like that, there would be one person who watches it, me, and I would watch it, my own stuff. It's not about rhetoric. Rhetoric is to sell your policies. And if you have rhetoric, you can't sell the best policy where you can give everybody $1 million. You've figured out a way to not collect any taxes from anybody. But if you have bad rhetoric, it will go, and the other side doesn't want it to go. They can twist it with good rhetoric into something bad. Giving every Canadian $1 million can be twisted bad. It's very, very difficult, but it could be done. Could be done. That's where you can have all the policy in the world. But the problem is, I believe, is that many focus too much on the rhetoric, and they don't understand that the real work is in the policy. And that's why we have flimsy politicians. It's my opinion. Too many flimsy politicians, because they're only about rhetoric. And they don't bother with the thing. And they go home, and they have their drinks, and they laugh with the lobbyists at the end of the day. They don't go home like I think Carney does, puts his glasses at the end of his nose like a nerd, like that little story I wrote, him dipping his cookies in the maple syrup. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a pleasant, funny story, That is what I think he does. He reads really boring, awful books and researches and stuff. I hope that's what he does. He leads like that's what he does. And when he answers his questions, he isn't reaching for his paper as much. He's reaching for the mind, and that's where it's at. This guy's shocked. D'Entremont. It's fun to say his name. All right, now what's this guy saying here? This is a liberal question. Ivan's looking in the sky. Ukraine.
Has spent the last week talking down Canada's economy, industries, and workers. Meanwhile, our government is making historic investments to grow the economy and strengthen Canada's future. From tens of billions in infrastructure to reaching NATO's 2% target to $6 billion for the skilled trades. Can the minister tell Canadians how these investments are helping us respond to economic headwinds? And
we got to bring this guy into my household. I think he's a very calm guy. He speaks quietly. He lives a good life. He's ordered his life very well. So there's the compliments. But I can tell that because they're yelling at him and his voice isn't going up. So he needs to come into a household where yelling is the constant, debate is the constant, just for about 6 months. Up that yelling target, to get him to help him out. If he did an hour a day of yelling practice, I know it's awful, but he's a politician. He got an awful job sometimes. It'll help him. I think he's a good politician. Decent politician, but he living a calm, decent life doesn't show good on TV. As we know, most of the ones that we like to watch, good people, bad people, all people, like the biggest famous people, they're wild. They probably yell all day, all night. That's the ones we want to watch. They're not yelling on the screen, but they are off. And he, I'm just saying this as a point, not to point him out particularly. He seems, like I said, a very calm guy. He should get some yelling training. Yeah, I could do it for him. Just throw baloney arguments at him all for an hour and yelling and screaming. And, his question period. He's a big guy. He could have a very baritone voice across there, practice. Practice of the hard life, right? Going into a skid, into a not my house, but into a a rough neighborhood for an hour a day and yelling with those people, that'll help. It's awful trading for a punch in the face. Yeah. Is it? Anyway, I just make a jokes because I'm trying to be funny.
Build a more resilient and prosperous economy.
Here. Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Question, Mr. Speaker, from a great member which has great leadership. Mr. Speaker, I have some good news. I know the Conservative can see good news when there's one in front of them, but let me tell them something, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in Budget 2025, we laid the foundation for growth in this country. We made generational investment in housing, generational investment in infrastructure, generational investment in productivity innovation, generational investment in our defense, Mr. Speaker, and that is leading us to have the second fastest growth in the G7, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build Canada strong together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We just had a lengthy question period, but once again, when the going gets tough, the Prime Minister won't stand up. He answered just 6 questions from the Leader of the Opposition and gave 0 answers, real answers, to explain why Canada is the only G20 country in recession. I'm going to give him another opportunity to do it. Second chance. Why is it that after all of these lofty speeches and empty promises, and despite the fact that all G20 countries are operating under the same international conditions, why Canada is the only country to be hit by this liberal recession? Mr. Speaker, I'll start by commending the member for having had the opportunity.
I don't know why I have trouble with a guy's name like McKinnon, but I always have trouble with his name. I like thinking and saying it. It's such a, it's not Smith, but it's pretty close. McKinnon. I pause. I think he's going to do an attack somewhere here because I think he's lining it up. He's setting up. Like, see that hands there? He's homing in, and he's going to do. I think it's a liberal. A attack with couth, but I feel an attack coming. Just then, let's see if I'm right. Like a jab, we'll say.
To be the 4th member to ask a question aside from the Leader of the Opposition. Canadians don't understand why on this day where we are announcing massive investments in forestry communities in Quebec and Canada, the day after we announced $10 billion for infrastructure throughout Quebec, why this member from Quebec can't stand up to discuss the ways Quebec is benefiting.
Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
Liberal government has sidelined Bill S2 as amended despite a court-ordered deadline to end sex and race-based discrimination and the second-generation cutoff in the Indian Act. The UN has called on Canada to fix this by adopting Bill S2 as amended. The majority of First Nations agree and do not want more consultation. Officials and ministers say it's up to the Prime Minister. So will the Prime Minister stop the delay tactics, meet with First Nations women leaders as requested, pass Bill S2 as amended now to end the discrimination and violations of the Charter and international law?
MP Kwan is a good fire. I agree with most. She says, I don't know anything with S2, though from that, I agree. Yeah. Especially if most agree and they have most agreement with Aborigines. Or our first, I think that better. It feels good. I wish I was. You know what I mean? When I say our first, that I think was good. She always does it, and she's always got it like it's spicy every time. Like, she's coming at you. It's not like, well, maybe she's no. That's what I thought. I was hoping she was going to win it. I don't know this other guy who won it. I know I haven't been following politics I took 2 weeks off because they were like, hey. Yeah, I had to battle. And he made the NDP leader made a very, very big mistake. His first move, that's okay. It wasn't, He admitted to it. He actually said it was like a rookie mistake or something like that. He was good. So I think he will be good. I just thought Kwan would have been good for the NDP because she's spicy, but she's also, I think, she has fire and question period, but also I think she is a NDP at heart, like not a bleeding heart, but she has compassion, for the working class people, and that I was thinking that I hope she has a big role going forward. And the NDP are in like major rebuild, but their gap is like 10 miles wide. The Carney became a liberal, a conservative in almost every way. I don't know what happened there. He's coming back a little bit with a couple policies of late, but they made the lane for the working class very wide, and the working class are about to be screaming soon as this new technology makes havoc upon the whole country. It's going to. It's inevitable. It's not like, we know it's coming. It's going to make a lot of people worse off. In time, they will be better off. But you can't say that to someone. Oh, you're going to be better off years from now. But today, you can't afford to pay your bills, so you have to go live on the street. You may not make it till that time when it gets better, but don't worry. It'll get better for someone else. Like, what? That's what I believe our politicians, all of our politicians are doing right now, pretending, instead of planning for the inevitable. It's inevitable. There's going to be, major shakeups with the AI. And EI is not an answer, or like just handing out checks. That's not a good answer. I think there needs to be that secondary system to the safety net. We'll call it the safety net system, safety net economy. Homes that are not being taxed. They're like federal government land, so there's no municipal tax. They're being very, very largely supported by the rest of the economy's gains, and so people don't do what they do when their government doesn't help the people and it helps corporations, entities that are machines, right? People will do bad things. We'll have to spend the money either way. It'll be in police enforcement and all the technology that goes along with that. And then this is the problem with that. Once you start using an engineer control of policing, which isn't an engineer control, it's a policing control. It's a mechanical control, basically. Well, then you get better criminals, and they won't be criminals. They will be better dissenters. That's what they do. This is what we found out in Gulag. Why is the Russian mafia why did they go in and take? They were pretty, well, because under the Soviet, I don't know about now, but under the Soviet, why were they so tough? Well, because they were under the Gulag system. They were really tough. They were going after them really hard. It made better criminals. It created better ones in a negative light. This is what happened when we have countries where it's harsher, they come here, their gangs they wipe our gangs out because we get, we live the good life. We think better, move on. And the new ones are pretty harsh. This is, I think it's just parallel lines theory as I see it. I don't see how I would be the only one. I think everyone sees this. It's going to be problems. And if we had the control system, we're like, yeah, why don't you go live in that town there? You have dignity, right? You go live in, call it Fool's Town even. You can even give it a silly name like that. And you will have a place for that. Or they're going to be sprouting up everywhere, whenever, and you not even know where you know what I mean? And they're going to get better because of the way our politicians are acting now. It's smash the weasel attitude. And well, what happens when 500 come up at once? No, you have to have a system. And I don't think that they're so worried about today, investors for today, that tomorrow. This is a problem with politicians, is with their short-term limit. This is where kings had an advantage. oddly enough, this is why I like the British system, and I like the King's Bursbury, his little town. I think I got the name wrong, but Kings have 30-year timeline thought. They think long-term thought. So an example of that is a bridge. A lot of bridges that are built in the country, they're built for today or yesterday. They're not built for tomorrow because that'll cost more. So why would a politician spend, he has $100 to spend the whole $100 on the bridge to build it for 30 years, right? 30 years of expansion, of major growth. Stony Creek is a town that did this, and it's one of the best towns in the country because they overbuilt their infrastructure intentionally, and it saves them so much money. They've been ready to expand for a long time, since like the 80s, 70s, and 80s. This is brilliant. This is like one town of every town. How many towns do we have in